All right. Well, good to see everyone. With Thanksgiving just behind us, if you're in the US, and an often stressful Christmas season in full swing, gratitude is a very timely topic. I think we're generally aware these days that gratitude is good for us, and it's not so hard to figure out why. So much of what the Course takes aim at is what you might call a general negative perception of the world, in which we are constantly being treated unfairly and where we are too weak to muster the resources to fend off all that is coming our way. There's a great line in the Course that speaks of, quote, a self perception which sees us as in a place of merciless pursuit, where we are badgered ceaselessly and pushed about without a thought or care for us or for our future. So think about that. A place of merciless pursuit. We have surely felt at times that we were being mercilessly pursued. Badgered ceaselessly. When you hear those words, there may be certain individuals that come to mind. Pushed about without a thought or care for us or for our future. We can probably relate to that one too. These thoughts are in all of our minds from time to time. And there may be a certain kind of cold comfort in ruminating on how hard done by we feel. But let's face it, that is an overall depressing worldview. The antidote for that worldview is, of course, gratitude. Gratitude is the opposite of that gloomy perspective in which the world is constantly dumping its trash onto our heads. Rather than I'm depressed about how badly the world is treating me, gratitude says I'm so grateful for all the blessings I have received. Gratitude then is the reversal of our entire negative perception of life. And indeed, research has shown that being grateful can break the cycle of rumination and negative thinking that is common in depression, for instance. And that brings us to the science of gratitude. The science of gratitude has really only been around since about the year 2000. It's a pretty new field, but it has produced some significant findings. I already mentioned that it can break the cycle of negative thinking that leads to depression, so it can reduce depression. And here are some other major findings, just a few. Gratitude increases positive emotions, such as happiness, joy, and life satisfaction. It enhances resilience and helps people recover from traumatic experiences. Gratitude improves sleep quality and duration. It strengthens the immune system. Gratitude enhances relationships by fostering connection and mutual appreciation. It increases pro-social behaviors like helping, sharing, and empathizing. Gratitude even alters neural pathways so that a positive outlook becomes more natural for us. It enhances self-esteem and it cultivates a sense of meaning and purpose in life. And I think because of the science of gratitude, we've all become more aware that there are benefits there. Yet, as is so often the case, the course was already there. So the course was dictated about 30 or so years before the emergence of the science of gratitude. And as you may know, the course not only emphasizes the benefits of gratitude, it also provides gratitude practices and even contains an entire sophisticated thought system concerning gratitude. So the course was ahead of the game. The Course is well aware that gratitude is the reversal of our negative outlook on life. Right after that line about that perception where we see ourselves in a place of merciless pursuit, the very next sentence says this: gratitude becomes the single thought we substitute for these insane perceptions. So, what that means is gratitude can take the place of that whole worldview in which we are mercilessly pursued, ceaselessly badgered, and thoughtlessly pushed about. Gratitude can be the single thought we substitute for all those perceptions. So let's talk about how the Course says we can have a life filled with gratitude. That's surely something we would want, right? Who on earth wouldn't want to increase their positive emotions, improve their sleep quality, enhance their relationships, and alter their neural pathways? When you look at the teachings on gratitude in the Course, and there's way too much there for us to go into. Carla mentioned some really key things I'll be going into, and she mentioned things I won't be going into just because there's so much there. Okay. But to me, the first thing that stands out is what the Course encourages us to be grateful for. And this is not so much an issue in conventional discussions of gratitude. It's kind of assumed we know the things to be grateful for. And here, I think, is where the Course is just leagues ahead of where the science of gratitude is currently at and may be at for a very long time, maybe for centuries. So we know in conventional thinking on gratitude what we're supposed to be grateful for. It's positive circumstances and experiences. It's good relationships. It's our health. It's safety. It's having abundance. It's simple pleasures like a good meal or beautiful weather. I suspect we've all heard lists like those. And when I hear them, I can't help but feel that, for the most part, by and large, they're somewhat superficial. For instance, the other day I was reading a book that encourages us to be grateful for all of the modern technology that makes our lives safer and more comfortable. And I understand that. That makes sense. I don't want to live in a cave and go out hunting mammoths, right? At the same time, I can't help but think, isn't there more? Shouldn't our gratitude go deeper than that? And also, while we're grateful for this one thing, right next to it is often, or really always, something regrettable that we're trying to ignore while we focus on being grateful for this one thing. So, overall, just like Bill said to Helen, there must be a better way of having gratitude. And in fact, as I'm sure some of you know, the Course is expressly critical of much of our conventional gratitude. There's a great lesson, 195, Love is the Way I Walk in Gratitude. And here's how it opens. It says, gratitude is a lesson hard to learn for those who look upon the world amiss. The most that they can do is see themselves as better off than others. And they try to be content because another seems to suffer more than they. Now, I think we all know this kind of gratitude. I'm thankful to have food on the table as others are not so fortunate, right? That's really run-of-the-mill gratitude. And the Course's critique is accurate here. To say you are thankful because others are less fortunate is to say you are thankful because someone else is suffering more. That's why the lesson goes on to call this, quote, thanks because of suffering. And that can kind of sting because we do engage in that kind of gratitude. And the Course's critique is really hard to deny. So, our conventional gratitude, as I was saying, is for positive circumstances that come our way, circumstances that may not come to others, and that may be so fleeting that they're removed from us tomorrow. In contrast, the Course's view dives way deeper. It reaches below the level of fleeting personal circumstances, reaching all the way down to the fundamental nature of reality itself. So, in this view, we can be grateful for the reality that lies beyond the circumstances we see with our eyes. And also, as you'll see, we can be grateful for the visible blessings that arise from that deeper reality. So, what I want to do is go through three of the main categories the Course asks us to be grateful for, which Carla, by the way, mentioned all three, which was great. These categories are God, ourselves, and others. God, ourselves, and others. So, first, God. In the Course, God is the ultimate object of all our gratitude. All that we have to be grateful for ultimately comes from God. And in the Course, we thank God all the time in many of the Course's prayers, especially in part 2 of the workbook. The Course at one point says, your gratitude is due to Him alone. And it's not because He needs it. We're not buttering Him up with our gratitude. It's because, as the Course says, you need to develop your weakened ability to be grateful. That's why we express thanks to God. Ultimately, we're thankful for the sheer fact that He exists, for who He is as a purely loving God, and for all the eternal blessings that flow from that. For instance, the Course says in Lesson 123, give thanks that His love forever will remain shining on you, forever without change. Now, if the love of God really shines on you continually, always has, it is right now, and it always will, without change, how could you not be grateful? Indeed, gratitude to God is such a natural response that the Course says that heaven itself is a constant outpouring of thanks to God. There's a quote from the text in chapter 26. It says, what is heaven but a song of gratitude and love and praise by everything created to the source of its creation? So there is gratitude not only in heaven, but as what heaven is. If you thought that gratitude was one of those, emotions that are of the illusion, that's not accurate. Gratitude goes beyond the illusion to eternity. Now, this gratitude is ultimately for God's invisible nature and reality, and for gifts from Him that are deeper than what our eyes can see, but it's also for the specific gifts that flow from His nature into our daily lives. A couple of places that have been the focus of a lot of attention for me. One is in Workbook Lesson 153 that asks us to sit down every hour of the day, and that ends up being for about 50 days, and thank God for His gifts in the hour gone by. It's a really great practice. Just to pause for your hourly practice period and begin it by thanking God for any gifts in the hour gone by that you feel were ultimately from Him. The Manual for Teachers suggests that we thank God every night for the guidance He gave that day. It paints a picture in which we're asking for guidance throughout the day, and then at night we sit down and thank Him for all that guidance we received. So there are gifts each day and even each hour that we can thank God for. Okay. The next category is being grateful for ourselves. And even though there's so much focus on ourselves and spirituality these days, I feel like this one can really, change our head around. How often do we feel grateful simply for what we are? The Course says that God created us perfect, pure, limitless, and eternal. It says that our true nature is literally made of love. Now, on this earth, we are searching all the time to be someone who's important, who is valuable, who is loved and esteemed. If our nature, our true nature, is forever perfect, then that constant search has already been satisfied, right? In which case, why wouldn't we be grateful? Grateful for what we really are. The text says human beings should thank God for what they really are. And a prayer in the workbook says, we thank you, Father, for the light that shines forever in us. We thank you, Father, for the light that shines forever in us. So imagine walking through your day, each day, overflowing with thanks for what you really are. Is that how you walk through the day now? But what would it feel like to do that? Okay. And just like with God, we are ultimately thankful for our reality beyond time and space, but there are also visible expressions of that, blessings that we can see and be thankful for. And these are the gifts that we have given to others. I think we all know the experience of giving what we thought was a real gift of love, yet it wasn't received with much gratitude on the part of the recipient. We've all had that experience, right? Lesson 197 talks about that. That lesson is it can be but my gratitude I earn. It says that our gift to that person was not just a gift to them, but also to ourselves as well, because the Course often says giving and receiving are the same. So when you give a gift to someone, you're giving a gift to that person and yourself as well. And because it was a gift given to you, you can be genuinely grateful for it, grateful for your own gift. That lesson says your gratitude is all your gifts require. And is this something we practice? When we give a gift to someone, do we think, I can be grateful that I did that? Okay. Our final category, as I mentioned, is gratitude for others. And this is a major theme in the Course's teachings on gratitude. Okay. Just as we are thankful for what God is and what we ourselves really are, we are also grateful for what others really are. The Course says that we should, quote, give thanks for what he is. And at one point, the Course has us pray to God about a particular person, saying, I thank you, Father, for your perfect Son, and in his glory will I see my own. So, do we go through our day thinking, I can give thanks for the perfection God created in this person and that person and that person? And because the Course says that everyone's nature is literally the same, it encourages us to thank God for everyone without exception, regardless of how they appear on the outside. That same lesson I mentioned earlier, Love is the Way I Walk in Gratitude, says this explicitly. Okay, here's what the quote says. And let your gratitude make room for all who will escape with you, the sick, the weak, the needy and afraid, and those who mourn a seeming loss or feel apparent pain, who suffer cold or hunger, or who walk the way of hatred and the path of death. So we can even be grateful to those who walk the way of hatred and the path of death. We can be grateful to everyone. And why is that? Because underneath, they, as that previous prayer said, are shining with God's glory. As Thomas Merton said, shining like the sun. We can be grateful for everyone. And here too, that underlying reality that our eyes can't see expresses in the world in specific forms, things that we can see and be grateful for. So the Course at one point, in referring to others, says, give thanks to him for all the helpfulness he gave, all the helpfulness he gave. And that's not a small category. Okay, oftentimes the helpfulness of others is life-changing, right? It can leave a blessing with us that remains forever. The Course even asks us to be thankful, quote, for the many gifts that come to me today and every day from every son of God, which is kind of mind-boggling. But the idea here is that every time a gift of love is given anywhere in the world, that is also a gift to us. Our gifts are, in a sense, non-specific, given to one person, but given generally to everyone. And what that means is that gifts from our brothers and sisters are flying toward us from all over the world this very second. So again, why would we not be grateful? And now for perhaps the most astonishing and challenging aspect of being grateful toward others. And that is that the Course encourages us to be grateful even for their attacks. Now, this seems beyond conception, seems very hard to believe. You know, our minds just may immediately gasp, like, what? Why on earth would I be grateful for someone's attack? And honestly, I don't know if I really ever have been grateful for someone's attack, but we can. The Course has a very logical explanation here. It says that attacks, and you've probably heard this, are really calls for help. Attacks are a call for love. The attack is evidence that that person feels lacking in love, cut off from their own true nature. And so they need your help in filling that lack within them. And if you imagine just someone walking up to you on the street and saying, I feel lacking in love inside. Can you help me restore that lack? Can't you picture that request naturally evoking love from you? Well, the Course is saying that's what's going on when someone attacks you. They're just saying that in a disguised form. And here is the essential quote about this. There's more than one quote, but this is really, I think, the best one about how this connects with gratitude. The Course says, gratitude is due him for both his loving thoughts and his appeals for help, aka attacks. Okay. For both are capable of bringing love into your awareness if you perceive them truly. So, what an astonishing idea. If someone's attack seen truly is a call for love, and being a call for love, it naturally brings love into your awareness, why wouldn't you be grateful for it? It makes sense. Now, I know it's a very high bar. I feel it myself. But at this point, we can be grateful not only for all their helpfulness, but also for their attacks, which means we can literally be grateful for everything they do. Amazing idea. So looking at all this together, we've talked about being grateful to God, ourselves, and others. And just to review, we can be grateful for what God is and his constant love for us, which are eternal, and for the gifts and guidance we receive from him each day and each hour. We can be thankful for the worth and perfection of who we really are, as that prayer said, for the light that shines forever in us, and for all the specific gifts we have given to others, since those were gifts to us as well. And we can be grateful for the radiant glory of who our brothers and sisters really are, as well as for all the helpfulness they've given us, and even for their attacks, since those attacks are capable of bringing love into our awareness if we perceive them truly. So we're grateful for the eternal nature of God, ourselves, and others. And in each of those cases, we are also grateful for specific blessings that flow from that eternal nature. And I think we need both. I think we need a gratitude that rests on a changeless reality that's beyond the fleeting conditions we see. It just never changes. And I think we need a gratitude that rests on specific blessings that we can see, right? It can't just be abstract. We need the abstract because it's changeless. We need the specific because we can see it. And I think that's a perfect combination, a gratitude that rests on both. And this is a different kind of gratitude, is it not? It's not about fleeting conditions that roll by us like tumbleweeds. It's not about special conditions that surround us with a tiny oasis while others are still out in the desert. This is a gratitude that rests not on the ever-shifting chessboard of this world. Now, instead, our gratitude rests on an eternal foundation. It rests on transcendental reality itself. Lesson 359 says this about forgiveness. It says forgiveness rests upon a certain base, more solid than the shadow world we see. We want a gratitude like that, right? We want a gratitude that rests upon a certain base, more solid than the shadow world we see. And the way I'm picturing that is that while we walk this earth, we remain constantly aware that beneath the ground under our feet, so to speak, is this shining, changeless reality that can be the basis for endless gratitude. And we also see that shining reality, you could say, sending up specific blessings through the cracks in the ground. Okay? Blessings we can see, blessings we can experience every day. So just imagine walking through life that way, constantly grateful for that vast underlying reality, constantly grateful for its many visible manifestations each day. Imagine you could say sincerely with one of the workbook lessons, each day 1,000 treasures come to me with every passing moment. If this was your experience, how would you feel? At that point, we'd have to say, to use a well-known saying, that we had an attitude of gratitude. Obviously, we want to be grateful for more than the occasional thing. We want to have an overall grateful attitude, or as we've seen, an overall grateful worldview. At that point, you could even say that gratitude had become one of our essential character traits. Imagine having gratitude as one of your stable character traits. So you would have found your way out of that whole perception we talked about at the beginning, that global view in which you're mercilessly pursued, ceaselessly badgered, and thoughtlessly pushed about. You would have replaced it all with a single thought, the single thought of gratitude. Thank you.